Our general.
You should have stuff.
No. In my brother's sister, 2016. Which I was unaware of. I said, that's gotta be kidding.
Well, I do. Friday, here, 6:02,
Yeah.
It was good, I remember that.
There forever. All right, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there was an executive session held on March 28th, 2024. Just had to announce that. We didn't do it at the last meeting, but it was on March 28th, 2024 for possible litigation. There's no public participation on the sign-in sheet. Approval of the minutes from April 8th, monthly minutes. That's something that you didn't agree with?
No, I looked over, it looks pretty accurate. I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor? New business, code enforcement. Is there anything that we need? It doesn't look like a whole lot of activity.
Sure does.
I make a motion, we accept the report.
Also,
All in favor? The SEO report.
one second.
Make a motion that we accept that report.
Also,
All in favor? Police report, I don't see the police here. Make a motion that we accept it.
also,
All in favor? Aye. Virginville Fire Company report. They're asking that we make a motion to approve the truck payment. Is that something we have to do, or we just have to approve release of their funds, or?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if they have an internal procedure that requires you to specifically approve that. I think what I have seen lately is that car companies want you to take official action to say where their money is going and what expense their money is going to. Because I've gotten this at a couple of township meetings lately where our companies, and this is, I think, probably because of their own audit process, that they want the municipality, when you give money, to say specifically what it's for. So it creates more paper trail for spending money. So that could be what they're looking for.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the truck payment for $20,978.37.
And are you, at this time, releasing that payment to the fire company in
Yes.
that amount? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything you want to add to the Walton Fire report, Jeff?
No, very good.
Yeah, make a motion we accept that.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Discussion on Route 222 widening at Richmond Road.
Yes, on the 29th of April, we had a meeting here with PennDOT. to discuss the upgrades to the highway. I gave them our input from the township. Certain things came up that I thought it was important for the upgrade project. One of them was wider shoulders, which they agreed to. They also came up with I thought, a real workable solution to go from Kempsville to Osgood's with a bi-directional bicycle path that buggies could use as well. Basically paralleling the on-ramp. They're gonna widen the on-ramp and make a bi-directional ramp there to serve the Mennonite community.
From the north side.
On the north, it would be on the north side of the highway.
The west side actually, 222.
Yeah, it would be on
Okay.
the adult bookstore side. It would start at the adult bookstore and follow parallel the on-ramp.
So they don't have to cross.
They wouldn't have to cross.
They have enough right away for that?
They're working on through that. They think they have enough room. Their concern was more the grade as it rolls off there. But they thought it was something they could get at least 2 8-foot wide shoulders.
Really improve safety.
Yeah, and that I thought that was a great thing. So they're going to play with the elevations and see how. But they were pretty confident that they could do something like that. And but again, I stress the importance of the wider the better on the shoulders. I think we might get 10 feet, but that every foot is a big deal, especially the entire length.
So where does the upgrade go from where to where?
It goes basically from, well, it starts at Osgood's. That cut perpendicular to Osgood's across the bypass, that's where they're going to start. And it's going to go from there basically to the cemetery, to the Schaefer Road Circle. It'll be 4 lanes, barriers in between, so it'll be totally, there'll be no left-hand turning lanes. There will be a totally divided highway the entire length.
So are they adding any more roundabouts?
Yes, 2. One at Richmond and one at, maybe at Pleasant Hill.
Pleasant Hill.
Pleasant Hill. As far as roundabouts go, they had 2 questions for us. What we wanted to see in the islands. And Robbie really wanted grass and bushes again, but I
I
said,
know, we just keep fighting that. I don't think that's a good idea.
no, I think we're gonna go with macadam or concrete, whatever they decide.
I think that's a good idea. I wonder if we should do something out here with this one. At some point.
Yeah. There's some options there. But the other thing that they brought up too was lighting. I guess it's really our option if we want to do lighting, because ultimately we're gonna, my thinking was that we should probably do lighting. But I was gonna leave that up for discussion. It just, so if you've been to a circle, it isn't lit at night, but it's different. I think it gives you, lighting gives you the ability to see the oncoming traffic. But that can be up for discussion as well. Then the other thing we looked at was the timetable. They're hoping to have final design by the end of the summer. Send it out for bid by early fall. Start acquiring properties at the same time. Construction sometime. They didn't really. 10, 25, 26, somewhere in that area.
2-year project.
2 to 3. That was the quick summary of it. I thought it was a productive meeting. They seemed to be willing to listen to what we had for them. We'll see what that results in.
It was helpful when we did the circle of meetings together.
Yeah.
Very helpful. All right. The sheets rebuild, land development.
So the next 2 items there, the planning commission did make recommendations, but for both those plans, there is a representative here. I don't know if you want them to just kind of summarize for you what the plan is. Part of the recommendation was a recommendation for action by the supervisors, so if they're here, I think it's probably a good idea to just take advantage of it.
Good evening. My name is Tom Serpico. I'm with Canoni Associates. I'm here on behalf of Sheets. From the Sheets right down the road on the corner of the circle at 222, 662. They're proposing to demolish the existing Sheets, and then they're going to build a new Sheets on the existing property that fits their new kind of brand, kind of new building, pressure, interior, kind of fits their new I guess their new branding is best way to put it. There's a couple of different items that are going to go on there. The building's going to move slightly to the south, and then there's going to be some revised stormwater management concepts. Basins, there's 2 basins on site, and it's basically going to increase the capacity of those basins slightly to accommodate a bit of an increase in impervious coverage for the development. There's going to be a revision to the pumps. Rather than having 2 separate pumps, there's going to be 1 pump on the front of the property. And basically the general gist of what they're planning to do for that parcel. So if there's any questions or any concerns, I can speak to them. We did have a lengthy process with the planning commission, and then there was a bit of a holdup with the conservation district. The conservation district has since processed the application and we received the NPDES permit for this site. So currently we're seeking a preliminary approval, and then we're going to roll right into final township approval submissions after this.
Are there any existing facilities in Berks County that are based on this design?
That I'm not positive on. I do know that there has been.
Eastport, they knocked down Eastport and rebuilt it. They just knocked down another one that we passed and they're rebuilding it.
Howard, 422 on the way out to
Everyone that I've seen,
Warner.
they rebuilt it.
Here's just, this shows you the ponds. This is not too much of a difference, but this.
What's the increased impervious? Where's that at?
Well, so if you look at the existing parcel, this current pond right here is right. So we're shifting, the building is going to shift a little further in lengthwise this way. And then there's going to be a drive-through, push the site down. So there's going to be a little bit of an increase in impervious kind of to the south that we're going to manage with revised ponds. But there currently is a pond here, we're just revising the pond location.
And the parking compared to the existing parking, is that similar?
Similar, yeah, it's right around basically the perimeter of this site here and against the building. So with the reconfigured building, then there's going to be some, increased parking.
Right.
So, yeah, against the building on 2 sides, drive-through lane here, parking on this side, parking on this side. That's the increased parking. Yeah.
The existing building coverage is reduced. They're actually shrinking the size of the building from what it is currently. The overall coverage gets increased, but it's still a little more than half of what it allows in the district for their property.
Is the drive-through intended to cut down on foot traffic inside the building?
I think that's just an added amenity that Sheets has been pursuing. I think a lot of people really enjoy online ordering, just being able to drive or pick up and be on their way. So I think that's just what they've decided to add on. It's not really a
Do
major
you
traffic
have
draw.
to, do you have to order online, or can you order on site?
I believe you can order on site as well, but I think the majority of the people that use that are using the app, picking something up, from what I understand.
And you're decreasing how many fuel pumps?
It's the same amount of fuel pumps.
Oh, yeah?
So currently it's 3 and 3, and then they're just gonna have 1 bay with 6 fuel pumps going straight across.
Yeah,
It's
except-
more than 3. It's more than 3 and 3. It's more than 3 and 3. Where's the original?
Sorry. So I believe that currently there's 3 pumps here, 3 pumps here.
So you have 6, there are 12 stations.
12 stations, so 6 pumps, double sided.
All right. I guess you're right.
It
Sorry, I
just
just
looks almost identical to what we had about a year ago.
Yeah.
Section of the drive-through.
Yeah, it was.
Not much has changed.
No, not much has changed. Some has changed, but not a lot. Small details. So we met with the planning commission a few weeks ago. We worked through most of the issues for the preliminary plan, and they recommended approval at the end of the meeting.
Parking space is the same as current.
It's a little increased.
Really, then one of the questions was the electrical vehicle charging stations. It's kind of a third-party company that deals with them to review it and see if it's a reasonable location to have them. As of right now, that was part of the discussion, but they said no, they're not looking to put them on this area.
Correct. I believe the third-party sites have evaluated this particular sheets one or two times, and being that it's not really a spot for them. So it's unlikely in the future that they're going to be putting something in that spot.
So they say that they don't anticipate more than 2 vehicles. So you don't anticipate any issues just backing up under 662?
Correct.
I was going to touch that.
Yeah,
It was
it
one
looks
of
like
the,
it, you know.
so the first submission, there was some traffic data. We asked them to supply more, especially because of the drive-through. It's pretty close to the 662 entrance. They went through and looked at, I think, 2 or 3. They basically said that AM, PM, weekend, they never witnessed more than 2 cars stacked at the location of the order spot, and they can fit 5 vehicles in there, as it's shown before it interferes with anybody driving into the property. I still had concern it was a little too close and asked if they'd be comfortable or would be willing to put a note on the plan stating that if there ever was a problem, that we need to immediately look at it and reevaluate, if possible, where that organization is. They were comfortable with what the traffic was and said they'd agree to doing that. So it's kind of a,
Yeah, I think some discussion was had to potentially have that in either the agreement. I think it was the agreement, not necessarily the plans. So I think the agreement with the township or with a zoning application or something like that, that's what that would be stated. So the township can.
gotcha. Yeah, I think Michelle at the time was comfortable with being one or the other, so. So to that point, there was a waiver involved for the location of the stormwater facility in reference to the well on the property. This was something that actually was kind of granted a waiver in the previous layout. It's supposed to be 100 feet from the well. It was 75, or is currently 75. They're looking at almost, I think it was almost 50 feet to the well from the stormwater now. They recommended approval of that waiver, given the fact that it is a public system, so the testing on that is rather regular for that water system, and as well as an indemnification to the township for the location as it's located in reference to the well. So the two recommendations for action were that waiver and the recommendation for a preliminary plan approval. There was also discussion asking them to provide the agreement with the sewer authority, right?
So
We've been minutes on that.
so I think there was an agreement that the solicitor might be coordinating the sheets on with the stormwater agreement from the HOP. There was that agreement. Then there was a permit from LTL for the on-lot sewage, which we have received from LTL. So I think those are the outside agency items that I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, it was the LTL.
Right. So yeah, they LTL received the paperwork, they looked at the plans, and they issued the permit to sheets for the on-lot sewage system. They just requested that, if and when this goes to construction, which it will, that they just give them ample notice for inspection of the revised on-lot storage system.
Right, so this is just a preliminary plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
with the understanding they're probably going to turn it around right into the final submission.
Correct.
One of the only other comments just to bring up, the planning commission was asking for, even though the trucks are not supposed to enter the property, it has happened, and if it does happen, just showing that it can move through. I think the location of the pumps actually helps. The front of the property kind of opens up a little bit more than what it was, but
Yeah, I see there was a discussion about that.
yeah. So that they demonstrated that it could move through the property, just to bring that up because it was something that was discussed. But
So are the driveway entrances changing at all?
No, the driveway entrances and the dimensions are staying the same. So all of the development will be within the limits of the driveways, for lack of a better word. The modification to the stormwater facility in the front, that is something that does, it's kind of, in line with the driveway, and that's included in our PennDOT application. So,
That does require the township to be the applicant with the understanding that there's going to be an agreement between Sheets and the township with the
Of
Bonus to maintain
stormwater
and all.
facilities within the PennDOT right.
Correct.
Yeah, so that will put the burden on the property owner to maintain stormwater facilities that the township has to pay the applicant as to.
Well, addresses all of those concerns.
I make a motion to approve the waiver.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And I make the motion that we approve the preliminary plan. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. We're gonna let Bruce go next. Just
What was
what?
the, did they give a timeline for that, for the sheets
Understood.
stuff?
What's?
Was there a time, I'm sorry, was there a timeline, like for, you have an idea, since it looks like plans are kind of progressing along, like when you might be looking at the demolition, the rebuild, everything?
Yeah, so I believe that Sheets is looking to begin demolition this fall, and they said it's about a 5-month process from when they begin demolition, relocate all the goods in the stores, to when they finish it up. So anticipating construction over the winter months, that's what they're anticipating.
Okay.
So,
Alright, thank you.
no problem. Thank you.
Must be worth it. They do everything.
Police activity will go down, because you won't be at Sheets.
Yeah, that's what you're looking at. 5 months.
No, no, that's why I was
I was gonna say,
That's why I was asking. Just wondering what months they'll be closed.
So go ahead.
Because obviously we anticipate, just based on calls from other jurisdictions that have, not specifically Sheets, but obviously like drive-throughs. People are just like out of control these days. So like there are incidents across the county pretty consistently at like drive-through places, people getting crazy over their chicken McNuggets and stuff. So like we're sort of anticipating that like that drive-through may add some additional,
I don't think
problems
it's
for
as,
us.
I don't think it's as tough as like a Burger King or McDonald's because it's app-based and it's not used to the extent, so hopefully.
Yeah, people get mad like that their orders are wrong, or
Yeah.
it's not, like all kinds of stuff, so. Yeah. Okay, so we have for April, a total of 3,316 patrol miles, which equated to 311 patrol hours. 163 hours were spent on, dispatched incidents that we responded to. Total 25 crash investigations, 28 traffic citations that were issued, 14 hours were spent on traffic checks, 7 hours of paperwork time listed, 35 hours for follow-ups or time spent working on cases by our detective, 5 hours of court time, and 53 vehicle stops were conducted. Just a few things worth noting. On April 1st, we had a retail theft at the Sheets. That subject was identified and charges are pending. On April the 10th, a vehicle stop was done out here on Kutztown Road for an expired inspection, and that resulted in a DUI arrest of the driver whose blood alcohol level was 0.145. 4/12, we had a disorderly conduct. That was at a business in the township where a subject who was refusing to leave and making threats. 4/14, a harassment, responded to township residents due to an intoxicated male. who was harassing a complainant, male subject was warned to stay inside the residence. No charges filed on that. 421, another harassment, charges were filed against an adult male. That was a result of a domestic that became physical. 423, another threat incident involving a complainant and 2 employees at a township business. No charges were filed because the involved parties declined to press charges on the other person. And then just kind of a little note here, police responded to numerous non-criminal domestics and mental health calls in April. Equipment note, additional handheld radios have been obtained. They're working on getting them set up. And projected activities, just to put it out there, on Saturday, June the 1st from 1 to 3, we have teamed up with several other organizations, the Tri-Valley YMCA, the Fleetwood Library. We're doing a summer expo type event that'll have a bunch of activities, ice cream. We do like ice cream sort of thing every summer. It's like our 3rd year for doing that. But we've just combined with the other organizations to like make it one big event.
And is that at Willow?
Yeah, that's at the YMCA at Willow Creek. Yep. That's everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Want to go to the next one?
Sure. Again, yeah, the Cubes, the storage facility, which is located just behind Speedway, technically the property there. It includes both that existing basin and then the kind of flat area behind it, which is where the development's proposed. Again, the engineer, Brian's here tonight. If you want to kind of take it from there.
Sure.
I'll meet you. Yeah. Pretty straightforward. Have you guys had a chance to look at it yourselves, or?
I don't.
Sure. Not too much going on about. We're kind of splitting the driveways here across the driveway from that. That was one of the part of the review process is to get a single driveway. I used to have 2 here and have it straight across from the Speedway one. It's pretty straightforward. This basin's been there for forever, and it was originally designed to take care of all this development going up here when it was first subdivided off. And this is the last piece of the, you have the Dunkin' Donuts up there and what's the other thing, Dollar General. So really, it was pretty simple. Like this here had been sized really, adequately from the beginning. I just had to kind of demonstrate that it can meet more modern water quality requirements. All it was really required is a change the outlet here and raise the invert of that hole up a little bit so that the water has to perk into the ground. We've been to the planning commission a couple of times. It's very simple. This is all going to be paved and everything meets the all that sort of stuff. That's when I have another plan for all that stuff. And there's a lot of plans, kind of boring. So it shows that it's not going to be too much illumination on the adjacent properties, but illuminate our area enough. And these again are portable, so you're going to haul them on a truck, go to somebody's house, load it up, bring it out here and store it. So the activity is going to be, relatively minimal. It's not going to be open to the public. It's just going to be the leasee, which is Randall Martins, is the person that's going to be leasing it through his company, Cubes of Allentown, from the owner, who is Charles Strauss. I think it's Charles Strauss. Yeah. And it's pretty straightforward. There isn't even any really grading needed or anything. It's just kind of just go plop it there, pave it, and start putting units on after.
Are there any permanent structures?
No.
It's just basically an open parking lot.
Yeah. So he's just going to use it to places, store the units there. And
There is a required fencing around the outside as well as landscaping. That was part of the zoning decision for the.
So the people who are storing stuff there, do they bring the unit to this location or does somebody else?
He's going to
do it himself. That's part of the service, is to kind of drop it
So he
off.
goes out to the resident, picks up, and brings it back here, okay. So you
Right,
don't have anybody coming and going, other than the guy who's leasing
right.
the property?
And I don't, so in that light, we requested two waivers that were supported by the planning commission. They recommended approval of them as part of this. One was doing a traffic study, because it's such a low, minimal, impact. Everybody kind of agrees it doesn't make sense to do one here. It's not really
Yeah,
impacting
just
anything.
by the ordinance, because it's located so close to 222, anything within that boundary could be subject to that, but given the number of trips expected from here and the fact that it's strictly their trucks picking up and dropping
Yeah,
us
so
off.
the people that have their stuff in there, they can't come here and get stuff out of their,
No, and I put some notes through the process on there prohibiting that, and that if that was ever to be some just future desire to change it, he'd have to come back through the plan process to revisit that.
because that would
Yeah.
affect traffic numbers.
Yeah, it was part of the planning commission discussion, and because it was at the zoning level, and that was a discussion at that hearing, he put a few of those notes on the plans just to make sure that it was consistently understood what the use was.
And I also listed all the zoning conditions that were in that one, the cover sheet, so it's tied together really, well, the two different approvals. And then,
There's a cap on how many units can be.
right, wasn't it like 80 or something like that? I have, no, why, it's not, I have a couple loose ends to take care of. So it's a conditional approval based on Scott's letter. And part of that letter was to visually make sure I have 80 here. I just kind of threw them on there to show that they, but they don't match the 80. So I have to go back here and only show 80 of them. That's one like the little loose ends to kind of button up. We still need to get the cost estimate,
Yeah.
you to approve the number to get that squared away, but that's just a formality. That's that.
Yeah.
The improvement cost.
Yeah, improvement cost. There is the conservation district has looked at this, but hasn't issued any kind of final, as far as stormwater goes, so we've gone through it. And there's not any comments from them that I expect it to be detrimental to change anything here, but if it did, it's on them to come back, but I
Right.
don't
And
see
The
any.
basin right there.
on that note, it got kicked to the Harrisburg DEP office because of the watershed that it's in. It's possible, I'm not sure where the dividing line is, if Sheets went the other way or if Sheets, that might have been one that it's taken forever to get that permit. It's just sitting there.
So you have a lot of cleanup items in your review.
Yep. Yeah, there really wasn't anything that wasn't in the review letter similar to the indemnification on the last one, but yeah, there were two waivers. One, as he mentioned, the additional study for the traffic study. The other one was they requested to do a preliminary / final submission, which would be a waiver of the final plan process, but they've gone through quite a few reps with the planning commission, and just generally speaking, because it's low impact, it seemed reasonable.
What is the planning commission's recommendation?
They recommended for both.
Make a motion that we allow the waiver for the traffic study.
One second.
All in favor? Aye. I'll make a motion that we allow the waiver for the preliminary final.
And we'll see. Go ahead. I guess, Chris, would that be, oh yeah, I'm sorry. It would be waiver of the final, and then there's the recommendation for the preliminary / final.
I mean,
Approval.
it's just, there's more than one way to word it. I mean, I guess. Waiver of final plan, provided that the preliminary plan meets all the final plan conditions. I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably done this many times, but I don't remember exactly how it worded it.
Can we just go straight to final and have this be the final conditional?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to
That's
do.
what I'm
We're just trying to
trying
figure out.
to word it right.
Yeah. I mean, we could waive preliminary and approve this as a final plan. If it doesn't meet all the final plan conditions,
We did review this one as final.
so maybe that would be a better way to waive preliminary to approve this as final. Subject to all the conditions stated in your last review letter dated.
Hold on there. April 24th.
I'll make that motion to do that waiver.
I'll say it's a conditional.
It's a conditional approval.
Well, it is another waiver. Waiver.
Waiver of preliminary approval and go right to final.
I'll second that as well.
All in favor?
And then did we conditionally approve the final plan?
I'll make a motion to conditionally approve the final plan depending on the April 24th list.
Listed. I'll second.
All in favor?
I think that should do it.
Yeah. We'll work that out a little better next time, but
Thank you.
Motion to approve the bi-yearly service contract with Supervisors. Brand-new software. Service. I made that motion. All in favor? Excuse me. Okay, engineers report.
The first one on there is the solar farm. I think it was right after the last meeting is when they started getting in there for the amended soils. They have completed, for the most part, everything south of the tracks. They're on the northern part of that now, and this is just the soil amendment part of it. They're moving through those areas so far without much of a problem, to be honest with you, but they are getting into the areas that were kind of earmarked as places where they hit rock, or different areas that they're questioning if it will be or not. So far they've been going through there and meeting what they need to. It's going along. They seem to be doing areas and then coming back and seeding it right away. They haven't been staying off it from everything we've been seeing. So that's one. That's where they are in that process. Then they will need to convert all their ponds. They do have one pond, as you know, along Fleetwood Lions that regularly holds water. They're going to have to figure out what the best way is to remediate that. I mean, that's kind of been on the radar since it started. So that still needs to be done. The ponds are not getting the ripping. They're just going to be getting the 8 inches of the amended soils. There is a section, just to point it out, that the amount of amended soils they're doing on this north area, and it's kind of closest to where the peak is on the property, that area does not get the amended soils. It will get, it'll get tilled to a point that they redo the grass and get that reestablished, but they meet that quantity of amended soils without that one little strip there, which happens to be the rockiest area anyway. But in case that comes up, that was part of the design of what they had in there. There's a couple items that we already have on their radar that they need to be looking at as far as stuff that needs to be done before there's a completion. A lot of the areas near where the fence crosses the drainage areas, the outlets of the pond, the ultimate outlet of the pond, the upper pond is something else we're in discussion with them on. But I just think it's long-term, something they need to address in order for this to really function the way it's supposed to. One example is the outlet for the pond right before Fleetwood Line Road. It's supposed to just remain an earth berm, but it's supposed to be staged for each one of the different storms, and they've had to correct that at least 2-3 times already. So we're just asking them to put it in concrete, as we've seen along the PennDOT 222
I was
corridor.
gonna say they do those stepped programs.
gonna be there for however long the duration's gonna be, it should be there and not have to be repaired, so that's a discussion we're having with them, and, that's really where we're at. They did just make a recommendation for release on escrow, but we're gonna be looking into that in the next 30 days. It came in last week, so we'll see what qualifies for that and what doesn't. But
So you think they're 30% done on the amendments?
so they're thinking they're probably at like a 60% right now. Now, it's not all seeded. I think that's mainly the ripping that they've done, but yeah, I think it's a little above 50%.
I see they're hydro seeding.
Yeah.
So they should get some.
And I see they go every other spot,
Yeah.
which probably so they don't have it all ripped.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with rotating the panels when they're doing the work too. But yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, it's been going for them smooth as far as the ripping goes.
Is anything established as far as ground cover in the areas that they ripped?
Some of it actually is starting to
It's
take pretty well.
very
It is, okay.
The one area they did
Yeah, when they
last
hydro
year,
seeded, it comes up pretty quick like that. And actually the ground that they not disturbed is green as well. So,
So has the weather been cooperating with this since they started?
it was for a while.
yeah, I mean, right now it's on hold. If it's wet at all, we've asked them not to get in there too much. I mean, within reason. It's, you want to keep it moving, but at the same time, when it just rains or it's raining, it just,
Yeah, you don't.
it doesn't.
So that's, you're managing that part.
Yeah, I mean,
Do they owe us any road repairs?
so we're holding that until the very end, until they get their equipment out of there. That's the way we said it. We'll walk that roadway, and yeah,
There's gonna be some.
Yeah.
What, the third party verifying the amended soils, what do they? Are they in there as they're doing it?
I think they're stopping out from time to time, but I'm not sure as far as on their end, how often they're coming out. When they did their kickoff last year to show how it was gonna work, we were all out there at the same time just to see, basically it's the ripping, then they come back and then place the sand that gets mixed in. Then they do the 8-inch, the tilling, and then from there they hydro seed it. But they actually, a lot of their soil came back richer, I guess you'd say, than they anticipated. And that was part of why they were asking to change the design a little bit. But again, anything they've changed was, again, through our process that it meets or exceeds what the original design was. And that includes all the infiltration testing they did across the site.
If you could just give me an idea of when they're testing or how they're verifying that it's getting done.
Yeah,
So the rec, is their third party, there should be no verify they're doing what they say. I mean, it looks like it, but how do you tell they drive by?
yeah.
And do you think they're gonna change the level of the outlet as far as raising it up so it holds more water back? Or is it the design is the design? Is the EP gonna come out and say, hey, this really didn't work too well?
I think that answer is yes, from what I'm hearing from the conservation district. I don't know if they actually will push that or not, because the conservation district, as they've said, have to recommend to DEP to take action. So they're kind of in limbo waiting to see what DEP's responses are for anything on the site before they're finished. But what they've showed is that the elevation at that pipe right now is what it's supposed to be. They will have to amend that basin. So the idea is to basically have more infiltration than it is now. But they're not really looking to elevate that. I think that's one of the questions we have to them, is that pond and the other pond. Can you elevate those at all to create just more of a straight storage as opposed to the, yeah. So we're asking those questions, and right now they're taking it under taking it into consideration, but they haven't responded to those yet. We're asking for a meeting out there with them, and they've kind of said, yeah, we're looking into it, so.
But that is DEP's responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, they reviewed it and approved it, we did as well. But yeah, that is, DEP has the final say of closing out their site permit. Yeah, they have two open, the construction permit and then the NPDS permit once it's stabilized. So.
All right, just want to make sure they're doing what they say. But it does look much better. I go around, I went to the back.
Yeah, I just questioned the height of that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at it again, what they provided on the survey. It shows that it's where it's supposed to be at this point in time.
And I don't doubt that, it just doesn't look like it's enough.
Well, yeah, the thing that you look at when you have high water event there, water almost at the bottom, there's no retention of the large, there's acres of retention, not retaining anything.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me that pipe is too low. But that's just my unprofessional opinion. But we'll see. Maybe there's a plan that I don't know.
I'll push at it and look at it again.
I'd like to see the elevations is what I'd like to see.
I'll get both of those.
Seems like
just
you overlooked something there.
I'm sorry, I came a little late, so I didn't sign the sign-in sheet. Am I allowed to say something?
No.
Sorry.
You are.
I'd like to see the grass cut there. It's getting very high. We pay hundreds of dollars to have our grass nice, and our grass is very nice. And all the weeds are just blowing over in our lawn. They are very high.
So what is the plan for that when they're, I know now they have to mow, but what is the plan when they're up and running? Is there I mean, we have requirements throughout the township, are they gonna have to
They'd
have?
be subject to the same requirements. I think, yeah, and unfortunately, I think with the construction phase, that's one of those, and if it's to that point where it needs to be,
It
We'll hit 'em
definitely is.
again.
I mean, have you not been out there to see? I mean, the grass is really high.
yeah, and unfortunately, I sometimes get tunnel vision on what it is I'm looking at, but it's, yeah, and now that you say it, I know there's different areas where it's,
All they did was cut like right up at the road where they have that make-believe little string fence. And they did not cut from the tree line where the other fence is, where the real chain link fence is, to that area. I mean, it probably is 2 foot,
it's mostly the outside area
yes.
of that fence.
I mean, there's a lot of high grass in it too, but I mean, it looks horrible. Even up at the substation, the grass is really high there. I mean, it's just an eyesore, that's all
Yeah,
it is.
Basically, the guy I have stopping out there daily, I haven't really asked him to keep an eye on that, but I'll point it out to him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tell them to clean it up, they're already on the shit list.
yeah, it's celebrating the issue. All right.
Anything else you want to? We're good?
Right, yeah. I just don't believe that they're ripping down as far, I mean, I've been communicating that with you, but
We're trying to follow up.
it's like a dead horse.
I think in the end it'll be okay, it's just getting to that finish line.
As far as
Anytime we've
these
been out there,
retention ponds, something was clarified again to me actually today, and I heard this before. For what it's worth, I was explained, it was told to me that these are detention ponds, not retention ponds. So they're not really supposed, they're not designed to actually hold the water and keep it there. It's supposed to hold it there and then slow release. And like you said, with the not the menisols, but the 8 inches of biomass put in there and stuff, that's going to soak. But as far as that pipe height and area, I don't know, because it's considered a detention pond, not a retention. I don't know if that has, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people got to understand what these ponds really are meant to do.
I got schooled on that a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago from the PennDOT guys, so I know the difference between retention and detention now.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning that. My concern is the elevation. It just seems like someone didn't have a transit set up right, or they got faulty information.
So it should detain just a little more.
Yeah,
Like a
the
lot
top.
of water coming off the hill, coming onto the property already.
Well, maybe once that 8 inches of biomass is put in there, see, it's all like just hard clay right now in the on that. Once he had that bio to it yet. Well,
Yeah.
that's what you were saying at the very beginning, I hope that was so.
But still, you have that large basin right below the railroad that never retains any water. And I'm just,
Well, there again, once he had that material to it.
yeah, and maybe, that's like,
I don't know, I'm
what the
just-
plan is. So,
I got more of that an education too on that this week.
yeah.
I think there may be a lot of those questions getting pushed once we start trying to figure out on a pond that's not infiltrating, that's supposed to. Maybe and that's kind of how I suggested it was, if it's not infiltrating, you guys need to do more. Those other basins create almost a retention area that they could have, even if it's just the upper basin. Raise it a little bit or put a restrictor plate or something on it.
So it just gives
It
us a
seems
chance
reasonable to
So,
do
yeah,
so.
And that's the thing now.
instead of blowing right
Sewage
through.
ponds, right? We'll keep answering.
I will get you guys answers on these questions.
Work bids.
We opened up on the 18th. We had 4 bids. One of the contractors, who was at the time the apparent low bidder, had a miscalculation and they withdrew their bid. So there's only 3 shown on the recommendation letter here. But from that recommendation letter, there's actually a couple other small math errors. But New Enterprise was the low bid, and what I'm showing is alternate number 3. That alternate, I had a couple options depending on where they came in. They came in with favorable prices, so that alternate 3 has all of the roads that we had listed, which just real quick was the overlay of Richmond, Sheridan at Patches, Baldy as well. Kale was the reconstruction, the township parking lot as well. Meadow Drive for the overlay, and then School Road, which was patch. There was a portion of School Road for patches and overlay. With that said, all those roads was $473,990.55. Was pretty well under what our budget was at, roughly 5 and change, 520, 530.
It was twice with fuels. What was
It was 400, well, liquid fuels was 200, so it's a total of $400,000, but I think there was leftover from last year.
Yeah. a lot of them.
One thing I will say is that there was one road that it was 30 ton less in the bid here than what should have been on the bid. So in talking to Chris on this, instead of trying to do it in the recommendation, the idea was to recommend it as the bids were received. And then once we award, there would be a need for a change order, which would put it at 477 in the end, roughly.
How did they miss such tonnage? Or was it just?
That was something I
in the bid?
actually on my bid had, it was supposed to be 235 and I think I had 205. So it was a miss on my end. Their original bid was 477. Their miscalculation ironically was close to it, but
So,
the thought was to award it at their actual calculated price of 473,990.55. But then we would, before they start the work, do a change order for that 30 ton.
so I know we gotta look at the lowest bidder. How do we ensure quality of work? Not saying, have we used the low bidder once before?
We always use a little bit.
I know, but how do we ensure the quality is what we need it to be? I think we had a couple issues, I don't know if it was with them, but in the past, like cutting into driveways, was all that stuff in the bid, lining it, the whole complete package, that we can assure quality.
Yeah, I mean,
Good job.
the couple items that you listed there, we've tweaked the contract to make sure they're in there. It's, whether it's a stone driveway or a paved driveway, that's in there, that's listed, that's your requirement to do so. As far as quality, that's really in there as well. It's one of the things we lean on most is per PennDOT specs, which gives us that ability to say, here's their Bible on how you're doing these paving projects. So I think that's our biggest biggest hammer.
So who watches that as they're doing it? Robbie, is that you?
Usually, yeah.
Am I imagining things, or we had some issues in the past with quality? I'm not saying with them, but just in general.
We've got some.
But you'll stay on top of that?
Yeah.
Good.
Where I notice it the most is on base repair, where they do the blending. We've had some really good jobs and we've had some really not so good jobs. And I'm not gonna point fingers, but that's one thing I really like to pay attention to, because that's a big deal. You don't get the base right.
I guess
The Marine Corps, they
that's
never
my
get
point.
it.
It's not my thing,
Yeah.
but I know we had some quality issues in the past, and I just want to make sure.
We had different contractors and the difference in the work was very noticeable.
Substantial.
So what do you think?
I would agree. I mean, it's very tough to take a road. It may look nice this year and we may overlay it this year. And next year we have a lot of freestyle and then it all cracks up.
Yeah.
That's sort of what happened on the short piece of Sheridan. I think that was maybe 7, 8 years ago. And now it's the right side headed towards Giant is failing. And it's just poor base there. But at the time, it was okay just to have a 2-inch overlay. And now it's finally catching up and now we're having to go back, which at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, but it still costs money to do that. But at the same time, for that whole road to get total reconstruction, that may be the difference between 100,000 and 200,000. So we're trying to pick and choose what we do and not where we can skimp, but kind of get away with making it last and trying to do the best with what we can.
My question is not what you guys are doing. I agree with that. My concern is the craftsmanship and the job quality of taking the lowest bidder and just making sure the quality that you're asking for is getting done. You know what I mean? What you're doing with the roads, I have no problem with. The plan, the different overlays, the pace, but the quality of work when they're doing it, just make sure you keep an eye on whoever the contractor is, that they're doing it correctly.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's my comment there. So you go with the lowest bidder, and that's a fact of life. We just gotta make sure they're on the same playing field with the other two, that they're giving us the same quality.
Right.
Kind of like have a bid specification.
Yeah, I think the spec is there to have what you're asking. I think we have a kickoff meeting with them coming up in the next couple of weeks just to walk through and talk to them. Just be sure to hammer it at that time.
Yeah.
Like you said,
And
it's when
you
they
just
start.
keep an eye on it when they're working on it. I trust your judgment, you know what I mean? When they're paying, just keep an eye on it. That's my thing. So
Yeah, we have to award it to New Enterprise for that alternate 3 minimum.
So I make a motion that we award the bid to New Enterprise for alternate 3 in the amount of $473,990.55 with a possible change order.
Well, the change order will come next month.
Yeah, I think
Don,
we'll do that
good with
before
that?
they, no, we'll
Okay.
we'll get
We'll
that.
scratch that for you.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. That's quite, I think that's a little bit more than what we were expecting as far as getting done.
Yeah, I think my number was around 520 for everything.
Yeah. Came in a little bit less.
Yeah, let's say you guys in the year, which always helps get prices, so.
Is that it, Scott?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. Just flipping over. Solicitor's report, delinquent sewer.
Okay, you have our monthly report and we are in the process of execution on the 22 Bird Road, which is the first one in the packet or in the list. And so again, we always take these steps in order to try to trigger a reaction from the property owner. Hopefully they don't like us starting that process and they'll make an offer to pay. But if they don't, then we would be, looking for the sheriff to find personal property at the property that we could collect against. And then we're with the 329 Southview, we're having issues in getting service of the DJ complaint. So we've needed to engage a constable to get the service of that complaint. And we have another one highlighted, the 420 Main Street, where that one has been in and out of this delinquent status for years. And Jen sent them a letter. I don't know if you've heard anything.
Nothing.
Okay. So I'm not asking for any official action tonight. I'm just reporting to you the ones that we're working on. Do you have any questions about any of those accounts?
No, but success story on 554 Park Road from 1970 to $20.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's good.
yeah. As you all know, because you've been listening to these reports for years, it's sort of an ebb and flow on people getting behind and then catching up. And sometimes there are more on the list than we have now. And
This is probably one of the smallest lists I've seen ever.
so, anyway, key is to stay on top of it and try to push people to catch up. The next item on my list is to take action on an agreement with Fleetwood that I have prepared for us to incorporate into our intermunicipal agreement the new discharge standards that are required by Fleetwood's permit. They have a permitting process with DEP. Their current permit requires some tweaking of the chemicals that are allowed to be discharged from their treatment plant, and so they need to pass that on to us because we are responsible for some of the flows that go into their treatment plant. And this agreement adopts the new standards that they are required to uphold. These typically apply to commercial uses. We don't have commercial uses that are flowing into the system, so I don't really anticipate any problem with this. From my point of view, this is primarily a formality to incorporate these new discharge standards into our agreement. But if and when it becomes an issue with somebody putting bad stuff into the system, then we would rely on these standards to take enforcement action. So I'm looking for a motion tonight for this amendment to our intermunicipal agreement. And I have been working with the Fleetwood solicitor, and he's having the borough council approve it as well. It might even be happening tonight.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next thing on the agenda is Willow Crest development. And, we are now at a point where there are a number of steps that are appropriate for the borough, for the township rather, to take over the streets. We have discussions about the open space dedication and conditions that would be required for Grande to make some improvements there. We have streetlights that need to be received by the township. We use a bill of sale to transfer those when they're within the street right of way that we're going to be accepting. We also have sewer improvements that are coming to the township that are also going to be handled through a bill of sale because we own, or we will be controlling the right-of-way in which the sewer improvements are located. All of that has been prepared. Robbie and Scott to give input. Open space dedication agreement to make sure that the wording that we have in that agreement is consistent with the discussions that Robbie and Scott have had with Grande's representatives about identifying the work that's required to be done by Grande on that open space area. What my understanding is basically that they're going to be leveling and grading the area on the north side of Rhino Drive, and then spreading stone that the township is going to bring in to create a parking lot area. They're going to be reworking the concrete curb cut to widen it by about 10 feet, I think. And then on the south side of Rhino, they're going to be also grading to fill in the swale between the two sides. And also, if the school district cooperates, we would be expanding the parking area that's at the south end of the area that we're getting on the south side of Rhino to use the school's existing driveway entrance and expand the parking area to go onto the Grande open space and spread stone that the township would bring in. So I don't know where we're at with the school discussions, but the way I word the agreement would be that Grande has a duty to do all that work if we have the cooperation of the school district to make that parking lot improvement at the south side of the open space area. Anyway, after I have confirmation from Scott and Robbie that the wording of that agreement with Grande is correct, and I want Scott to deliver all those documents to Grande and hopefully have them approve it and sign everything and deliver it back to us. So all of the things that need to be signed and delivered by Grande are not ready for action tonight. However, there is a piece of this that I am asking the board to consider action on tonight, and that is the agreement with MedEd for the streetlights. And the reason I'm asking for that tonight is because I think everything's coming together for us to, complete everything that's outstanding with Grande. But there is a time that is necessary for MedEd to actually go out there and finish the work they need to do on those lights. They won't start that, they won't even schedule it until the township signs that agreement for, township to be responsible for those lights as to MedEd. MedEd will maintain them, they'll, provide power, but they need the township to say that the township is responsible for the costs after Grande finishes, with the installation. So, in order for that to keep moving, because I'm looking ahead for, this is gonna take a couple of months with MedEd, and, it's only May now, but it'll be getting dark before you know it, and I'd like to be in a position where the lights will be on when the fall season comes. So in order to get that timing to work out, I think it's important for the board to approve that agreement. So I'm asking for a motion tonight to approve the street lighting agreement with MedEd, so that MedEd will schedule that work. Did I say that correctly? Did I leave anything out, Scott, as far as you know?
No, that's fine.
All right.
Do they have a tariff in there already?
Cost is gonna be whatever they're going for.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all.
You mean like the
cost
the rate of, that we're gonna pay for the power?
and the maintenance. It looks like 840 watts and 250 watts, all LEDs, so that should be relatively low consumption.
It's gonna be according to their applicable rules, regulations, rate schedules, and riders presently in effect, and on file with the PUC, and as the same may from time to time be amended. So they're not quoting us a specific dollar amount. It's gonna be whatever their rate is.
I agree, we don't have a choice either. Then I don't supply lighting the other. They're game.
Yeah, now, you know, you can shop your electric services. I don't know if you do that here at the township building or not, but,
This isn't gonna be a huge cost here.
I don't think we'll leave it.
For power? No, not for 840 watt LEDs and 250
I think
watt.
it's gonna be important that you act now, if you want these up by fall. like
By
that.
next year this time.
They are,
Yeah, they're chronically slow in getting stuff done. And, you know, Grande wanted us to do this last year. I didn't think we were ready for that because we had outstanding things we wanted to go over with Grande. But now I think we have progressed to the point where we have an agreement in principle about what's gonna happen. And on that basis, I think it's time to act on this.
So when does it trigger the light tax?
When they turn the switch on. Okay,
So the
the
next-
light tax, we will need to put that into effect
For 1/1?
for 1/1/25. So there could be a couple of months where the township is paying the bill.
So we don't approve this and they flip the switch right away?
Well, the lights aren't there.
yeah.
So they,
Oh, okay.
the
Lights
work
aren't
that
there.
needs to be
Now, that's
done.
what I'm talking about, is
Oh,
that
it's Matt that put the lights up.
So specific to that, there's one pole that has to get installed yet. They were doing the trenching for Med Ed. They did that up to one point, and there's one pole that Med Ed has to locate where that is so they can finish the trenching and put in that pole. And then Med Ed hangs the lights, and then specifically the two lights on Rhino are getting mounted to existing same fixture, but it's just hanging out over those poles further until this agreement's.
yeah, so Meta is gonna install the actual lights in the poles. So that's why I'm saying there's gonna be a lead time with this of several months. But I do think.
But Ronnie pays for the lights.
Right.
We just pay the electric to take care of the maintenance.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept this agreement.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, you see, don't take action until
Right.
somebody commits to it, and then we commit to pay for it. That's the way, I'm surprised they don't want to pay in advance. If they're gonna do it, get them started.
Robbie, how were your negotiations? Did you get what you wanted or close to what you wanted?
I believe so, yeah.
Good. And what I can, I can facilitate meeting with the superintendent. When I had gone over that, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. Because when I had gone to see him to do the sidewalk cleaning, which I wasn't successful with that, he had requested, it's a different school board now, maybe it's different. I had requested more, he had requested more parking on that side. So I think he's well open to that. I don't think it should be an issue. Do you want me to, do you know what you want to ask? Do you want me to ask? Do you want to set up a meeting?
It doesn't matter to me. I had messaged Bradley about something, but I never got to him the blueprint just yet. Basically, we're going from their parking lot over towards the base of the retention pond.
Yeah, because he had asked for more parking over there.
And then we'll eliminate our driveway, so to speak, and then utilize the existing driveways that's right across from the elementary school.
I think that makes sense. So do you want me to hook you up with him, or you want to go together?
It doesn't matter. We can go together. It's fine.
'Cause I think that's where we go first.
Yeah.
Then he can relate to the school board. I think he'd be supportive of that from my last conversation.
It's fine.
Okay, well, let me know how that goes. But I think the agreement is still flexible enough the way I wrote it, that you can work with Grande even.
We'll try and get that as quick as we can. You have a drawing of what you're thinking?
Yep.
Okay. I'll try and get that done this week.
Okay, thank you. So hopefully we'll have the rest of this package of documents signed by Grande by next month's meeting. Any questions on any of that? Okay. I don't have anything
Thanks,
else on my
Robbie.
list.
Very well on that. All right, review the monthly road report. You have anything to add?
No, the only thing that I was gonna discuss, Scott and Chris, we already discussed the open space and the road work. That's pretty much everything.
And in that bid, they're gonna do around the building here.
Yeah.
That would be nice. This out here looks nice too.
Now, this agreement with Bennett, after the board signs it, where does this go? Is this, do you have a contact with Bennett, or you give this to Grande and then Grande takes it to Bennett?
The name for MedEd that's on there is, I think the contact that Robbie and I gave Grande, so I could probably just reach out directly to him and see if we need to go back. If we don't have to go back through them, I know Grande is not gonna care.
I just want to make sure after Brian signs it, that it goes someplace.
It looks like it goes to the customer support specialist, Joe.
Joe's the one that we have the number for, so.
Yeah.
Actually, Jen, if you want to hang on to it, we can reach out to him and just have him pick it up here. That's-
You got Joe Schwum.
Yep.
The only question I had is the date on the tax is 2023. Just okay.
All right, thanks, Robbie. All right, Secretary Treasurer's report. Payment of the bills.
Okay, for general funds, we have check numbers 11427 to 11488, including EFTs for $428,694.20.
Make a motion, we pay them.
All in favor? Aye.
State fund, we had no checks. Light fund, check numbers 2171 and 2172 for a total of $1,563.66.
Make a motion, we pay them.
All in favor? Aye.
Sewer fund, check numbers 3195 to 3205, including EFTs for $30,879.65.
I'll make a motion, we pay them.
All in favor? Aye.
Walnut Town Fire Escrow, check numbers 2178 and 2179 for $4,886.89.
Make a motion, we pay them.
All in favor? Aye.
Virginville Fire Escrow, check numbers 2178 to 2180, $25,865.25.
I'll make a motion, we pay them.
All in favor? Aye.
And we did have Herbine come in and do our audit. We had our meeting last week, 2 weeks ago with Scott. Yeah, and everything went fine. The only thing that Roxanne had suggested was we have our equipment fund that has about an $18,000 balance in, basically for purchasing of trucks. She had recommended us putting money, as we always budget for equipment, taking a certain amount of whatever we want to have spent that year, putting it into the equipment fund as a savings fund so it does not get touched until the actual equipment is here, and then do the transfer into the general fund. She did make that comment, and trying to find, she had recommended the Pliget to check out for higher interest savings account for us on our higher volume accounts. I have some information in your packets here as to the different percentage rates that they have versus what we have at First National. But everything else was fine.
So that seems to make sense on some of the cases. What's the next step for that?
You need to adopt a resolution that the Pliget is an intergovernmental cooperation arrangement, and if you wish to move forward with participating in that Pliget system, you need to adopt a resolution approving the intergovernmental cooperation agreement of Pliget. So if you want to do this, I would recommend a motion authorizing me to prepare a version of that sample resolution that they gave to Jen that you can adopt next month. If you wanted to do it tonight, I could say you could approve the resolution and Jen would have to give it a number and I would still want to put it into the right format. So, you know,
I don't think we have to do it tonight, but I think we should at least explore it. And get a resolution on the books and then have a plan till next month that when we approve it, that we know what we want to do, where.
And what counts we want to do with it.
Yeah, I make that motion to have Chris work on a resolution.
Sure.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
That's all I have.
All right. I was gonna ask about, that's it. I don't have anything else. You guys have anything?
Yes.
Any public participation from the floor?
I have something to add, we missed, Steckback's brief thing, but.
You know nothing.
Yeah, him and I have been working on the, televising Walnut Area.
Yeah.
There's a section that goes behind the Walnut Fire Company, and then it goes, if you go towards, Pleasant Hill Road, and you go down Pleasant Hill Road, the house is on the right side. Behind those houses, the sewer line goes down there and then goes down to the intersection at Crisscross. We're unable to televise that section due to the behind the fire company and along the back of those houses is all trees. And there's no way that the truck could get in there. It was never mowed and maintained, and I never knew there was a sewer line back there. So I need to talk with you about possibly getting.
I don't care, you gotta talk to Sandy. Sandy, every time we trim the tree, Sandy yells at us.
Well, I mean, I need to get an access from like the back of the fire company to come down for starters.
I could care less, you
And
can get in there.
that whole field there along the field, there's trees there that are, 4 or 6 inches big already. And it's just growing over top of the sewer line.
Yeah, the manhole's probably 20 feet behind the fire company there, at the
Yeah.
bottom of the hill.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 that go out towards Moyers. And then I believe there's 3 that go down towards Pleasant Hill, and then it comes over about 100 feet and then goes down through somebody's yard to Crisscross.
I don't care about them making access as long as they don't do anything with the pond, or not the pond, but there's a trio of tanks in there
Right.
for the runoff.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just something I wanted to let you guys know that Scott and I have been looking at options where we can.
Is that a right of way, Chris? We can get to the sewer lines?
yeah, we have a right of way for all the sewer lines. So, this
Yeah, that's on Sandy's property.
Yeah.
question I have for Scott is if he's recommending that there be any maintenance done in that right of way area for the sewer line. I mean, that would be something I'd like to hear Scott's
Yeah,
opinion.
I'm not certain. I know he talked about if we would be able to get in there and take some of the trees out to kind of,
So it sounds like maintenance.
get access there.
Because that's a long-term risk to.
Oh, yeah. Trees
Sewer
over
line.
somewhere, right?
Right.
How big of a truck does he get in there?
It's like it's a single axle, but I mean, it has I don't know what size water tank it has on it, but
Because you can probably go right down between the fire company and the pines, where the big swell is at the bottom there. You can probably go down through there and cut through there. The only problem is we just built a sinkhole in up the top of our property.
right.
We just backfilled it, dug it out, backfilled it, so we just have to watch that. I don't want to drive over that and something happening.
Yeah.
But if he looks at it, he can probably go down along the retention pond and around. Maybe he can gain access there. Yeah, check it out, whatever
Yeah.
you need, let me know, and he has to do what he has to do. It's fine.
And if you gotta trim the trees or whatever, they'll let us know. That's part
Yeah,
of
the
the
trees are all
I think it's a little more than trimming at this point, but
and some of them are pretty big.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
Now, we gotta get someone in to come down or whatever.
That's a maintenance.
But it's good that we address it now before.
Right.
Thanks, Robbie. All right, anything else? Make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Sinkholes everywhere, huh?
Is that a new
Just
logo?
had one on Pleasant Hill.
Always had that.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 of them in the past 30 years that we've been there. Yeah. Pain in the butt. There's supposed to be an underground river flowing through there.